Good evening, guys. So I planned on having my daughter here with me to make a video. I thought it'd be kind of cute to have her teach you guys how to do some basic troubleshooting stuff on the PC. She, on the other hand, thought that idea was extremely lame and would rather play Minecraft with her brother. So instead, today I'll be discussing one of the first certifications I ever took. This cert brings me back over a decade to the start of my IT career. And after having finally renewed it a couple months ago, I figured it was an ideal time to discuss my opinions on it and the methods I used to pass. That cert is the CompTIA A+. CompTIA A+ exam is the entry-level cert for getting into IT. It's an absolutely massive exam that is broken into two separate sections, and they're separated into a hardware and software portion. Now, the Core 1 or 1001 exam for this version is the first in the series, and it focuses primarily on the hardware portion of IT systems. Well, I say first in a purely numeric sense of the exam codes. There is no requirement to take the 1001 prior to the 1002. Now, I only want to focus on the 1001 for this video, mainly because of how much is actually needed for the exam. I figured it'd be much easier to split this video into two separate portions and address each exam individually. According to CompTIA, the 220-1001 exam covers mobile devices, networking technology, hardware, virtualization and cloud computing, and network troubleshooting. It contains a maximum of 90 questions spanning over 90 minutes and requires a minimum score of 675 out of 900 to pass. So CompTIA recommends 9 to 12 months of hands-on work or lab experience, so this is ideal for newcomers. Now, the vouchers run about $230 USD per exam, so it does make the A+ one of the more expensive certifications CompTIA has to offer. The Core 1 is broken down into 5 domains. They are mobile devices, networking, hardware, virtualization and cloud computing, and network troubleshooting. The mobile devices section can be a bit deceptive, as this objective also includes peripherals, so understanding smart cards and USBs, microphones, laptop screens, components, mobile devices, and different mobile networks all fall into this category. There's also sections on configuring email for mobile devices, enabling Bluetooth, configuring iCloud and Google Drive, and a whole bunch more. The networking section covers common ports, the basics of routing and switching, IP addressing, network cards, wireless standards, UTM versus IDS versus IPS, different cable types, and common networking tools. The hardware section is absolutely massive. The objectives alone cover over 4 pages, so I'll try to keep this as minimal as possible, but just understand this is only a small portion of the stuff you need to know. For the hardware section, you need to know the difference in CAT cable standards, fiber, VGA versus HDMI, USB 1, USB 2, USB 3, USB ABCD, SATA, SCSI, different connector types like RJ11 and RJ45, DDR3 versus DDR4, optical drives, solid state versus hard disk drives, SD and flash, RAID, motherboard form factors, PCIe versus SATA versus IDE, BIOS, CPU features, cooling, printers, cameras, monitors, and different requirements needed for a gaming PC versus a video editing station or a standard workstation. The virtualization section is pretty small. It covers mostly the different categories of cloud, like infrastructure as a service, software as a service. It also gets into private and public versus hybrid and community clouds, what resource pooling means, and etc. Now, the troubleshooting section takes everything you learned in the last 4 sections and condenses it down into a how-to guide. You need to know how to troubleshoot a printer, fix boot problems, fix display problems, storage issues, and things like that. Now, like I said, this is an absolutely massive exam. The objective list only covers the first half of the A plus requirements, and I only mentioned a handful of the topics you saw. So, moving on to what I used to study. I started off using Mike Myers on Udemy. Mike Myers and TotalSem are absolutely incredible resources, and I highly recommend them to anybody studying for any CompTIA exam. I only spent $15 for over 17 hours worth of video, and I felt almost 100% confident in my ability to pass. But being me, being the eternal pessimist, I decided to keep looking out for study material. And then I came across Professor Messer on YouTube. Now, I had used Professor Messer previously for my Network Plus and Security Plus, so I figured I might as well use them again for the A Plus. He offers his entire library for free on YouTube, and his videos are broken down into 2 separate playlists. He also does a monthly live stream where he answers questions and does exam questions and answer sessions. So exam day was really rough. I was up all night with sick children the night before, and I finally went to bed around 4 a.m. I like to schedule my exams early, so I had scheduled my exam for 9 a.m., and I was not a happy camper walking into the center. So for those of you who have never taken a proctored exam with Pearson VUE, you have to show up early, sign in, show your ID, and then you have to sit and wait until you're called back into a closet-sized room with a bunch of cameras. You sit down at a computer that looks like it's as old as I am. Now, of course, this may have just been my local testing center, and yours may be a lot nicer. So anyways, I sit down and I begin the exam. The simulation questions are up first, and the ones I got were personally relatively simple. So the next 75 questions or so were all multiple choice. And one of my favorite things about CompTIA exams that I've taken so far is that the wrong answer is very clear. Now, I'm not saying that the right answer is immediately apparent, but the wrong answer is. At least 1 or 2 of the 4 choices will be outlandish, so there's no chance it's correct. Then it's just picking the best answer for that scenario. At least in my experience, this was the case. So finally, after completing all of the questions, you fill out some demographic info about yourself and you receive your results. Now, I scored much lower than I anticipated, but I still squeaked by with a pass. I attribute that primarily to my lack of studying, and I made sure to study more for my 1002 exam. So that was my experience with the first half of the A plus exam. It was definitely a whole bunch of knowledge to absorb, but not too much for anyone who has dealt with technology in even the most basic sense. So stay tuned for part 2 of this review where I cover the 1002 exam. Until then, stay learning, stay growing, stay overcoming. Peace.